All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. McLogan, and welcome to week number 71 Open Live Q&A, where we're going to talk about what if you fail your end of the course exams. And then, as always, I will go ahead and answer your questions. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I was for being a little late. What happens all the time, it seems like, when you want to do a live stream is I'm getting everything set up, and then I go and get my camera, and then it's frozen, and then I'm playing around with things, and then it just all of a sudden the feed doesn't go through. So I went to go and restart my computer, was plugging things in, resetting, and no, it's just not working. So you know what, guys, we are going to have to play with this. I've done this a couple live streams before. It's kind of weird because I do have a dual monitor when I do a live stream. So I have my computer here, and then I have my other screen over here. So when I start doing the math questions, I'll be looking over here, which I always hate, but whatever. It is what it is, guys. You just got to go. You got to be able to adjust, and that's one thing that I will talk to you guys as well, because technically on this live stream, I just failed, right? But good to see you here, Charles and Justin and Brody and Kanaya and Atib. Thank you so much. And Addie, awesome to have you guys in on the stream. And I'm not sure why this is popping out. I want that there. Okay, it's always so weird. Looks like that. It's him. Yes, I am. And what time is it? I am in the Eastern time zone, so it is 9:10 for me on this. And Exalted and Muhammad and Blitz. Beaker, well, as guys always figure out my answer to test. Well, that is awesome. Happy to be able to help you guys out. So let's talk about something, because this is not something I was expecting to do, or not something I was expecting to have, right? I always like to have my camera on and be able to talk right here, right? So this is very frustrating. And technically I can consider this as failing because, I do not have a live stream the way that I want it right now. But guess what? I'm adjusting. I'm just moving forward. I'm not going to dwell on what this live stream is going to look like, if it's going to have any long-term effects on anything. I am just moving on. All right. Now, that's one of the big things I want to tell you guys about this, failing your exams, because whenever you fail at anything, and I don't care if it's math, a math test, or if it's on sports, or if it's just in life, it sucks. There's really no way to get around it. I think it's something that you got to understand. It's something that you're going to eventually, if you're ever putting yourself out there, and putting yourself in that position, it's going to happen, And I think it's one of the tough kind of lessons that we have to learn, is how to overcome adversity, how to overcome when we fail to meet our standards or our expectations, not only of ourselves, but of other people. So I kind of use the word fail, and that's kind of like a broad term because, I've never failed a final exam. I've failed tests. I've failed quizzes, but a lot of my advice for this is not really so much as far as like failing an exam, because if you fail an exam, I mean, I don't know. It's, you might not know anything on the test, or it just could have been something, kind of difficult. But I think really my purpose of my use of the word fail was that you did not meet your expectations that you set up for, or what's really, I think, important is also the expectations of other people, that you're trying to live up to. And I think it's really important that when, we look in a year like this, like that we've had, where it's been a very difficult year for many, many people. I was going to say everybody, but not everybody is really, the tough thing is like, everything has impacted everybody differently, from teachers to parents to students. Everybody's had a different experience of everything. But I think what's really important to understand is like put things in perspective. And when, like for instance, this live stream, this is still up. You guys are still getting the value from this live stream as far as, how to overcome some adversity or failing, right? It doesn't really matter if I have my weird green screen in the background and it doesn't look like it's a great live stream. Like the value that I want it to help you out with is still there. When I go over my math questions, if you have a question that you submitted, which by the way, I pinned my comment. If you do have other questions, you can go ahead and submit them into that link, or you can also go ahead and visit the Discord, my Discord community, and therefore you can submit questions there. I only answer questions each and every week, but the Discord is open for people that want to kind of get math help, throughout the whole year and throughout the week. So definitely check out the Discord community. It is awesome. Now, the point that I wanted to bring is like, I got to like move on. Like there's still value that people are going to get out of this live stream. People are still coming onto this live stream, and I want to make sure I can serve them. Right. So the same thing, like if if you fail a math test, right? If you fail a math exam, or you didn't get as good of grade this year, in your test that maybe you were expecting, it's okay. Like put things in perspective. Like it's not going to define who you are. It's not going to define what you're capable of. One of the questions, that I had a student, I'll talk about it now. For instance, like a student talked to me about getting a D. I'm like, I got a D in pre-calculus, right? And that hurt my GPA, right? And I remember my mom was like very like upset about it because she was thinking I wasn't even going to go to college, because of this D. And and thankfully, nothing bad happened, because that could have happened. I mean, in a serious consequence, that is something that could have happened. But in this case, but in this case, we had what I was trying to think is like, I did fine. Like I went to college, I ended up getting an A when I retook pre-calculus, and I ended up getting a math major and becoming a math teacher, right? So getting a D in pre-calculus did not end my life. It did not define me as a horrible math student. And you know what, guys, it's going to happen. There's going to be tests that you are not prepared for, especially there's going to be tests that you don't do as well on. And it's a tough pill to swallow, but I want you guys to understand, like when you fail something, or don't meet the expectation that you were planning on, I think the best thing that you need to do is get into action, is get moving. I think we all, as humans, we all have this understanding that we want to kind of dwell and like soak up those feelings, which, hey, I get it. And I totally agree. I think you have to allow yourself to feel sorry for yourself in some little sense. And obviously, we talk about reflecting, like what went wrong? Like, why did you fail? Did you just not know anything? Was it, did you really have a tough year with your teacher? Did you have some other circumstances that prevented you from, prevented you from doing better? Those are all important things, but, don't spend too much time on that. Once you kind of, once you spent, maybe like a good 24 hours, like then it's time to move. It's time to get going, put yourself into action. And move on. Like I restarted my computer, my camera didn't work again. I was like, all right, that's it. Not going to worry about this anymore. And I just started moving on. I'm like, I have this live stream I got to go to, right? You have other things that you either need to, all right, what do I need to do? Like, do I need to retake this course, right? Do I need to, can I just relearn some of the material and go on to the next course? So there's certain things when you fail, I think one of the things is, put things into perspective. Don't overdwell on things. You do have to reflect, though. You do have to understand what went wrong, why it went wrong, and what can you do to prevent it from going wrong again. Because if you're not going to learn from your previous mistakes, like what's the point of having those mistakes, right? So if you're not going to get better from anything, then there's no point of anything like of that being like a good learning experience. So learn obviously from your mistakes. But the other thing is, I think the most important is get moving, take action, like go. Do not sit there and dwell and feel sorry for yourself because you didn't do well on some test or quiz. Like that does not define you for your rest of your life. Majority of you are younger than me. You have a really, really long time to live out in this world, and take advantage of that. No test or quiz is ever going to define you of what you're capable in this world. So that is something I want you guys just to kind of keep in mind, because, eventually, guys, if you are putting in the work, if you are putting yourself out there and competing and comparing yourself against anybody else, or, you have your, judging with parent expectations or anything else, you're going to fall short, and eventually you're going to fail, and the more times you put that out there, the more often it's going to happen. And so you just got to be prepared for it, and just realize it's a part of the growth. It's a part of the journey, and just to keep on moving forward from there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is my kind of thoughts with failing, because it doesn't really matter. I played sports throughout my whole life. It doesn't matter, guys, if you're failing in a test, in a quiz, in sports, if it's a business, like anything of that, like this idea of how to approach failure, I think is a very, very important thing. And it's not something that we just want to avoid, right? It's something that we have to face head on. And we got to look, one thing is like look forward to it, because when you're approaching failure, like that means you have an opportunity for growth. every single time you fail or have a struggle or don't meet expectation, that's an opportunity for you to improve. And it's not great, it's not great to obviously like try to fail. Obviously, we're not looking for that, but what we want to do is put yourself out there and everything like that. So, all right, Trigger Number 2 says, have you ever taught AP courses? Yes, I taught AP Pre-Calculus, or not AP Pre-Calculus. I taught AP Calc, Calc AB for a couple of years, and I haven't taught it in the last 2 years from there, but I definitely have a lot of videos on the on Calc AB for you. Resident says, I'm asking you this because I am not worthy enough for Ms. McClellan to answer you. Of course you are. My Algebra 2 exams are graded. Growth for midterms. Well, that's awesome. Can someone give me advice or detailed motions that they went through? I scored in the last time and I don't know what to do. Oh, you just got to do your best. You got to put things into context. You might not score as well in the midterms, and guess what? That's okay. Just do the absolute best you can do. And because I think you're going to freak yourself out if you're always thinking about, if you're not going to be able to meet your own expectations, it's just going to eat yourself alive at night. The main thing is before you take your end of the years, you got to have a good night's rest. And I know it's tough. I know your brain is going to be like going crazy, right? Especially like the night before. And if you're putting that much, especially if you feel that much pressure. So you got to do what you got to do to try to relieve the amount of pressure. And one thing also, I wanted to give you guys some tips as far as like, what are some things you guys can do to not fail, right? So a couple things that, I kind of talked about cramming. I have a whole bunch of videos on like stress, but I think there's two things. The number one is you really got to put things into perspective. Like, well, obviously fail. If you get like an F, that's failing, right? But maybe it might just be your expectations. Maybe you get a B and you needed an A, right? For instance, maybe you don't score in the 99th percentile. Like, what does this mean? And I think it's really important for you to first put things in perspective of what it really means for you to fail. Obviously not the like obvious, like you got a 32%, but like if you're not meeting your expectations or if you're worried about not getting a certain grade, like put that, like really think about that. Put that in perspective of like, are you really just trying to appease somebody? Are you just trying to appease somebody else? Like try to like put that in an understanding. So therefore it's not going to be like eating you out, because I think the main thing is like, you got to reduce stress. You got to put that in perspective so you can get a good night's rest. And when that day comes, when you do have to take a test, I think it's really, really helpful. Something that I have found to be very beneficial is to control your breathing. And I think if you can do like some kind of meditation, or even when you're doing the test, like really try to control your breathing, some really big deep breaths, and like look up some meditation stuff. But that is something that has really helped calm me when I've taken tests and to really kind of get my mindset right. And so I think that's something you guys can definitely do, to help prepare you the night before as well as the day of, to help kind of avoid, the failing or maybe just not meeting your expectations for there. Well, awesome, Psycho Booth. I'm happy to be able to help you out. Can you give some advice on how to be good at math? Yeah, I think you got to practice. I have a lot of stuff for you as far as just getting help with math. But I think one of the main thing is like, just put in the work and practicing there. Well, thank you, Goatee. I am pleasantly happy to be able to help you out. I was my day felt. Oh, well, there you go, William. Well, good for you. I know it's not always fun to like fail a final, but yeah, it happens then. I have the choice between calc or data for grade 12. My university requires either one of those and advanced functions. What is your advice? I think, Ben, your advice for your math class, it really just kind of depends on where you want to go. What do you want to do? If you're going to be taking something that's going to be, with your path or your future, if it's going to be more data driven, then go into data. Go into your data analysis. If you're going to be something that's going to be a little bit more stronger math driven and calculus based, then go into calculus. I think it just kind of depends. And if you don't know, then I would go into what you kind of feel like you like a little bit better. Hopefully you have a little bit of experience of like a probability and stat course, and you can kind of see if like data analysis would be something that you're interested in or already maybe good at. Or maybe you might be a little bit stronger in pre-calculus and calculus that you've maybe already taken. And, I'd just go, if you don't know where you're going to go and you just have to make a choice, I'd just maybe try to go with what you feel like you liked the best, or maybe where your strong suit was. What do you look for students when recommending them for college? Well, basically, if a student asks me to recommend them from college, I will give them a recommendation. I actually don't really recommend too many. Most of my college students, I don't really have too many recommendations for colleges. Most of my recommendations have been like in the military kind of thing. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Yeah, a lot of like in the very selected. I guess I just didn't write many recommendation letters last year for whatever reason. But yes, never mind. For very like selective universities, yeah, I'll write down their recommendations. And I think some of the things that I will do, I will say when I'm writing a and that's actually a good live streams tech. Thank you for much. I actually like that. So what are some things that I'll kind of mention it, and then if you guys are on the next live stream, you can add to it. So what are some things I look for when I'm writing a letter of recommendations? I think one, that students have that kind of that students will do the kind of self-motivation. Basically, I don't have to tell the student what they need to be doing. They know when I assign homework that they're going to do their homework, right? It's not something I'm like, hey, your homework's due tomorrow. Like they already have their homework turned in, right? They already have their homework done. It's not something that I have to, remind the student to check their work. Like I provide answers to students, like they check their work and they do it. They don't just copy down my answers, right? So I think that kind of self-initiative is very, very important for students. Or very, very important when I'm looking for writing a letter of recommendation. That's something I really, really like to highlight. Now, like the student has the maturity to understand what's needs to be done in this class. They take the initiative, and they kind of have like a little bit of it's kind of like a little bit of a leadership role in the sense like they know what they need to do and they do it. The second thing I think is really important is the students with their desire to learn, right? A lot of students have a desire to get a good grade, and that's really about it. They don't really care about what they're learning. They don't really care about what they need to do to get the good grade or what they need to do to understand it. They just want to get a good grade. And you can tell what those students are. You know, like almost all your teachers, and maybe you are that student. Your teachers know exactly who you are. So, it's very obvious when students are only concerned about a grade and not concerned about any of the learning. And it's very obvious to understand when students are concerned about like understanding the material. So I think that's another important step when I'm writing a student for a recommendation. Like, obviously, when I'm writing in the letter of recommendation, like that student is now taking on some characteristics of myself. Like I'm putting my name and this letter behind them. So I want to make sure that that student is going to kind of carry on my name, right? I mean, that's really how I think about it. So that student, I want them to have that desire to learn, and I want them to have that passion for learning, and also to kind of be able to kind of not so much self-teach themselves, but have that self-motivation to continue being a good student. Whereas I don't have to keep on telling them what they should be doing. So those are two things that I think is very important when writing a letter of recommendations. All right. Hayden, how are you so good at math? That is a fallacy. How I'm good at math, because I just do a lot of math. You guys think about every day I'm doing math, right? That's what math teachers do. We do a whole bunch of math, and I've been doing it for a while. I've been a math teacher now for 14 years. And then you think about my Sunday night. What am I doing? I'm doing more math, right? So it makes it, there's a lot of math I do not know, a lot of math that I'm not good at. But a lot of math I haven't done in years. So it's all relative, you put in the time of the math that I've done, and trust me, you'll be a much better math student as well. You got this. It's Anthony. Have you? Oh, well, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and fix that. All right. So, and I'm having a great day. So, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And hopefully you guys were able to wish your mother a happy Mother's Day as well for today. So we had a good day with my daughters and enjoying the day. It was a very nice weather, so it was good to be out. Oh, well, good, Addie. Well, I'm glad to hear everything is moving along. Feel free always to DM me as well and keep it up. I am always wishing you the best, and that is awesome news to hear, Addie. Awesome news. So, Justin, I love it. I thought you were in at the beginning, Justin. So let's go and recap here for what is the best way to rebound from a failed test? Move on. Move on from it. Do not dwell on it very long. Give yourself some time to think about it. Give yourself some time to, dwell and, give yourself time to reflect. But besides that, move on. And Jose Hernandez, thank you very much for the $3 super chat. I greatly appreciate it. You are awesome. Thank you so much. No, I did not get in a fight, Snoop Dogg, but I did scratch up my head when I fell off of my bicycle a couple weeks back. That is very awesome, though. Thank you so much for that. I'm off here. Time to watch play Call of Duty. It's like some teachers have to teach for the test nowadays. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't think all teachers teach for the test, but it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like everything you get assessed. They tell you you're not going to be judged by how you do how your students do on the test, but that's exactly how you are, assessed on how you do on a test, right? And so, I'm not going to let my students, how my students' grades define who I am as a teacher and how effective I am as a teacher, but that's exactly how they're used, right? So, I mean, I get the exact same thing that you guys feel as well, right? So even though some grade or some letter is not going to define me, but again, or define you, like what you understand, but yeah, that's how it's used, right? That's how, people say, you're going to this college or not going to this college, which is like bull crap. But I think the one thing that I kind of keep in mind is, especially as a teacher, even if they, they're like, hey, your scores are really bad and, blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously every year I want to improve myself as a teacher. Every year I want to get better. Every year I want to, think about my lessons and like, how can I improve them? How can I help students out, and get a better understanding of the material, right? So, I think there's obviously some important characteristics to look at the data and like, why did other teachers do better than myself? Like why did my students maybe not do so well? But I'm not going to overdwell on that. I'm not going to, be overly concerned with that unless it's something I feel like I should be concerned from. All right. So JT, I have an Algebra 2 trade exam next Thursday. How should I study the material? So you don't have much time. I would recommend doing some math problems for today and tomorrow, and also creating a cheat sheet and then reviewing the material as much as possible, probably doing a couple hour breaks, a couple hour like sessions, and just trying to go over all your past tests, all your past quizzes, all your past homeworks, and, work through some extra problems if you can. But that's a lot. It's a lot of material, to go through. So, it's okay if you're not able to get through everything, as far as practice problems go, but I would definitely recommend trying to do as many practice problems as you can. And then as well as, just review everything you've learned, from that part. And a lot of times to rewrite them on a big cheat sheet, that you have. And then hopefully like the night before your test or 2 nights before, you can just review everything you wrote down on that cheat sheet. So, all right, guys, 9:32. Let's go ahead and get on some math. I'm looking at you like you're on, but you are not on because you guys are over here. So I am going to go ahead and work through the math questions. And I do apologize. I'm going to talk to my camera because it's supposed to be on, but it's not on. So it's going to look kind of weird. But either way, I'll try to keep on remembering to connect over here. All right. So the first one is to verify the identity, brought to you by Samuel. And Samuel actually sent in 4 questions, and every single question was different. So that's the tough thing about verifying identities is there's always different ways to be able to adjust things. Or there are always different ways to approach these problems, right? So you just got to practice. The more of these you can practice, the easier it does become. All right, so let's go ahead, and first thing we're going to want to do here is I noticed that these both have a cosine squared of a. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor that out. By doing that, I'm going to get a 1 minus a secant squared of a all over a sine squared of a. Okay, now a cosine over sine, now what I can do is I can break that up is a cosine squared of a all over a sine squared of a times, now this, if I remember my Pythagorean identities, is going to be a tangent squared of a. Now cosine over sine, that's going to equal cotangent squared of a times a tangent squared of a. Now hopefully you recognize here that these are just our reciprocal functions. So cotangent times tangent is going to be 1. So cotangent squared times tangent squared is just going to equal 1. And there you go. So the answer there is 1. All right, question number 2 is, I was just wondering what's a good way to remember which a parabola and a hyperbola open when looking at the equation. So I'm assuming this is for like conic sections because there's kind of two different equations here. We have the, let's just look at the like x squared equals 4p times, y squared. And it doesn't matter if it's the x or I'm sorry, not x, y, 4pk. And then I have y squared equals a 4px. Okay, so just remember when you're dealing with quadratics, like if you remember quadratic functions, so y equals, x minus h, quantity squared plus k, and y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so if you remember this, when x is squared, these parabolas always open up. So if my x is squared here, it's either going to open up or obviously it could open down, right? Depends on if your 4p is positive or negative. So if my y is squared, then that means I'm going to have a horizontal parabola, either opening to the right or opening to the left. Now, so that's what you want to do with the parabolas. Look at what variable is being squared. If x is squared, it's up or down. If y is squared, it's going to be left or right. Now let's go and look at the hyperbola equation. So the hyperbola equation, I'm not going to do the h and the k, but the hyperbola equation is always a squared minus b squared as my denominators. So I could have a x squared minus a y squared over b squared, or I could have a y squared all over a squared minus a x squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, so whenever my a squared is under the x, it's going to be a horizontal hyperbola. That means the parabola is going to be opening up horizontally. What we're going to have is a horizontal transverse axis. Whenever my a squared is under the y, it's going to be a vertical transverse axis. Or you could say that my parabola is going to be opening up or down. So again, it's when a is under the y, that's when it's a vertical. When a is under x, that's going to be horizontal. All right, the next question comes from Vortex, which is asking about the equation. I'm sorry, this right triangle. And then actually, I do have my calculator here. So this one is trying to find the values for x and y. Now, when we have a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem, or as well as we can also use our trigonometric functions, right? So if I want to find y, okay, I got to look and say, all right, if here's y, then this is my hypotenuse, right? That's easy. Then this is my adjacent side, and this is my opposite side. Now, I don't know what my adjacent side is, right? So I should probably use the Pythagorean theorem actually for this. So let's see, that's going to be, let's call this, I don't know, adjacent side. So 6 squared plus, let's just call this, I don't know, z squared or something. Squared equals 12 squared. All right, so that's going to be 36 plus z squared equals 144. And, 36, that's going to be 108. All right, so I'm going to, I gotta see what is that's divisible by. That's gonna be 12. No, it's gonna need to be more, so, divide by 36 maybe? Yeah, 3, okay. All right, so that's gonna be 12 squared, so z squared is equal to 108. So z is gonna equal, let's see, that's going to be, 36 times 3, which equals 6 square root of 3. Okay, so that is equal to 6 square root of 3. All right, so now if we want to solve for y, right, which is the angle, that's the important thing. So if I have the angle, I have that opposite. And actually, what am I doing? Why did I do that? Settle down. You didn't even need to do any of that. I'm going crazy. Jeez, what a waste of time. Okay. Nope, not that one. Come on. Okay. All right. And I guess my right triangle is just not going to work. So let's try this again. Okay. So here's my y. Based on my y, I have my adjacent, my opposite side. All right, now I'm trying to find y. So again, I need to write a trigonometric equation. I don't need to find out this side length. We can use it from here. We have the opposite and the adjacent side. So therefore, I can say the sine of y equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now again, we're trying to solve for y, guys, right? So I need to undo sine. So to undo sine and to solve for y, I'm going to use the sine inverse. So you can take the sine inverse of both sides, and y equals the sine inverse of 6 over 12, which is 1/2. Now, again, you should hopefully know the sine inverse of 1/2. You could obviously use your calculator, and therefore that is going to equal sine inverse of 1/2. That is going to equal, hold on. That's going to be 30 degrees. Awesome. So now that I know this is 30 degrees, that means this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So if y is 30 degrees, then if that's 90 and that's 30, then I know that x has to equal 180 minus 90 minus 30, which is going to equal 60 degrees. You also could have used a trigonometric equation or expression to solve for x as well, and then done the same work. All right, so question number 4 says, write a cosine function representing the graph below. All right, so we have y equals cosine of x. Let's see what that graph looks like, or let's remember what that graph looks like. So it goes up to 1, down to -1. Right? It has a period of 2 pi. Okay. Now let's talk about all the transformations. So we could have y equals a cosine of b times x minus h or x minus c. Doesn't really matter what the letters are, but x minus c plus d. Okay. So remember a represents our amplitude. So that's going to be basically the half distance from the max to the min. So if we look at here, our max distance is 3 to -1. Well, from -1 to 3 is 4. So therefore, my amplitude is going to equal, so I could say amplitude equals 2, right? That's the half distance from the max to the min. All right, so the amplitude's 2. Now let's see how long it takes the graph to repeat itself. So it looks like at 1, that's going to be the line here. All right, so it looks like the period, okay, and that's equal to absolute value of a. So my period is going to be 2 pi divided by b. Oops. So that's 2 pi divided by 3. And again, the formula for a period is 2 pi divided by b. Well, then it looks like here, a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3. There could be some shifting left or right, but I don't really know from there, so it doesn't really matter. So I can just leave 3. I can leave c to be 0. The next one is going to be, we want to do shifts up or down. And obviously you can see this graph starts at 0. So it's being shifted up, then it'd be at 1. So that's going to be d is equal to 1. So my final answer, or final equation, would be a 3 cosine of 3x plus 1. Sorry, that's a 2. There you go. All right, number 5, just a question. When is using the geometric or arithmetic sequences or formulas for say, how do you know when to use n and when to use n minus 1? So when you're using n, you're going to be, that's when you have a sub 0. And when you're going to use n minus 1, then your first term is going to be a sub 1. And that's basically the difference. Like they're basically the same formulas. It just depends on, are you starting with a sub 0 or are you going to start with a sub 1? Because again, when you plug in 1 into n minus 1, that's going to give you 0. Okay. Number 6, hey Brian, I'm retaking my first semester pre-calculus this summer because I got a D. Well, welcome, me too. Not this year, but when I was in high school. I don't want to weigh into my GPA since I want to get in a good college for my specific major. Just wondering if there is anything I should know about summer school or any college transfer advice, insight about having a D in pre-calculus if you just have an A. I'm a junior and my unweighted GPA is 3.6. Good for you. Congrats. And I've also taken mostly AP. Well, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything about summer school. I don't teach it, so I'm not familiar with it. I would recommend doing something exactly what you're doing too. Like if you need to improve that GPA, then yeah, just retake it. You know, I mean, it happens. I think you're going to learn a lot from this material. You know, it could have been a bad year. It could have been a bad instructor. You know, it's like maybe the information, you just weren't mature enough for it. Maybe just didn't like connect with you this year. And that's fine. You know, like I said, you failed, right? You know, or you didn't fail. You got a D, but you didn't meet your expectations, right? So it's fine. review, think about what you got wrong, what you can do better, and then move on and take it over the summer. And I think you'll be you'll be great. And especially whatever your major is, hopefully retaking this class is going to be something that's going to build off and really help you out with. All right, next one is write a rational function whose vertical asymptote is x equals 7, a whole at x equals 2, and has a horizontal asymptote at 3. Okay, so if it's a vertical asymptote, that is what we call a non-removable discontinuity. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an equation. All right, so if this is non-removable, that means it cannot be divided out. So x plus 7 is going to be in my denominator, right? Because when I set that equal to 0, that's going to make my denominator equal to 0, and it cannot be divided out. Now, if I have a removable discontinuity, like as a whole, that means it can be divided out. So once this would be like factored out, the expression with where I'm going to get x equals 2 would be divided out. So I'm using Notability app, by the way. So this one would be a x minus 2. And then I'd also need to make sure I have an x minus 2 in the numerator as well. Okay, so I'm going to have x minus 2 in the numerator and denominator, because if you were to simplify those, you guys would see those would be able to get divided out. However, if you look at the asymptote equation, so that's for the vertical asymptote. So we have x equals 0% my vertical asymptote, and then this would be my whole. However, horizontal asymptote, that means I need it to be at 3. Now, whenever my degree in my denominator is larger than my degree in my numerator, then whenever my degree in my denominator is larger than the degree in my numerator, my horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 0. So there's a couple different ways we could do this. I could write this as x minus 2 all over x plus 7 times x minus 2. And then I could use a transformation, right? I believe I could probably go ahead and do that. Just add a 3. That would just shift that graph up 3 units. Or I could also just make this graph more complicated. I could also say, well, if I had them to be the same, why don't I just multiply them by 3x? So now let's look at what happens here. So over here, and I believe I probably want to graph that just to double check, but I believe that's still going to, if I multiply that, put theirs, and then you multiply times those 3, that would be the same. Yeah, that'd still work. Okay, cool. Yep, I don't see any issue with that not working for that case. Now for this one, again, you can see here, if I was to multiply this is going to be an x squared over an x squared, right? If you were to expand that out, it'd be an x squared over an x squared. And then also my leading coefficient is going to be 3 over 1. So therefore, that would give you the horizontal asymptote at y is equal to 3. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is our questions for today. I want to see if my camera, I don't know what's up with my camera. So I do apologize for that, guys. Hopefully you guys are getting still ready and prepared. I know my students, most of them took their exams last week. I do have some students that are taking their exams, finishing up this week. And then also I'll have some geometry students who are going to take their EOCs the week after. So I am not done yet with my EOCs or exams, but we are definitely getting there. So, but yeah, and then we're going to start working on, guys. It's only going to be a couple more weeks, and then it's going to be ready, again, getting you guys prepared for next year. Joseph, I actually just talked about how to find the domain. The domain, or not the domain, but the period. How long the graph it takes to repeat itself, right? So you can see from here to here is from 0 to 2 pi over 3. That's how long it was. Yes, I can definitely see that. No, but if you guys do have any questions for all of my live streams, please feel free, guys, to go ahead and join the link up there for my Q&A. You guys can go and submit your questions each and every week. And even though I'm not able to get to everybody's questions, I do always try to do my best, as long as you keep things nice, short, simple, and sweet. But if you're looking for a little bit more continuous math help, or something just to kind of engage, you need some help now, you have an exam on Tuesday, I'm not going to get answer your questions until then. So please feel free to go ahead and check out the go ahead and check out the Discord server where there's people out there that are willing to help you with your questions. It's an awesome kind of community of people being able to give answers, needing help, and then also helping each other out. So I would definitely go and check that out if that's not something you have visited so far. Oh, how to solve 30 times 70. Is this live stream your way of telling me something? Maybe, Ethan. Maybe. I'm glad I'm getting showed up on your recommendations, and I may never stop. Well, thank you so much, Echo. I've greatly appreciated that. That is awesome to hear. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as some students noted, I still got class going, and I got teaching this week. So I'm going to sign off for today. Feel free, guys, if you add any questions, go ahead and check in to submit your questions for next week. And I look forward to seeing you guys. All right, then. All right, guys, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Cheers. I got to move that.